Alright, boys and girls, so today we're going to finish or continue our math lesson from yesterday. So we're going to continue working on constructing rectangles from a given number of square units and determine the perimeters. So, like I said yesterday, just a fancy way for saying finding the area and the perimeter of a rectangle. Hey, so first off we have our application problem. It says, John says that since 14 is larger than 12, he can draw more arrays to show 14 than he can to show 12. Is he correct? Model to solve. So boys and girls, you'll do the same thing that we did yesterday in our application problem. It's pretty much the same problem except for our numbers are different. So you're going to make me arrays for 14 and you'll make me arrays for 12 and see which one can you make more of. Can you make more arrays for 14 or more arrays for 12? Alright, boys and girls, so here we could see that John is incorrect. For the number 12, I have these arrays, or for the number 14. So these arrays all show 14, and these arrays all show 12. You can see for 14 I have 1, 2, 3, 4 arrays for showing 14. And for the number 12, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 arrays for showing the number 12. So you can see here that John is incorrect and that we can make 6 arrays for 12 and 4 arrays for 14. Hey, so boys and girls, yesterday we reviewed area. So area is the amount of space inside a shape. So my area would be the number of squares inside this rectangle. And so I can do that by taking the number of my, down the side, so my length, times my width, the number of squares across, and I could take 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So this rectangle has 6 square units, and we can double check by counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Okay, alright boys and girls, so now it wants to know how many rectangles can you make with an area of 18 centimeters, and what is the perimeter of each rectangle? So to do this, boys and girls, we're going to use an app on our iPad called Number Pieces, so I'll show you how to do that now. To find the app, boys and girls, you're going to search for the Number Pieces app. Just type in Number. It'll be the app with the blue square around it with the little yellow squares inside. So we'll open it up and you can see up in the top right hand corner we have all those little tiny square tiles. We're going to pretend that those are our square centimeter tiles that we have at school. So we're going to pull out 18 of those. Okay, so now that I have my 18 squares, I just made a rectangle using 18 squares. So this rectangle will have an area of 18 square centimeters, or square units, we're going to call them. And right now I'm outlining my perimeter of the shape. So the perimeter is the outside, the area is the inside. And then down on the bottom, I'm going to figure out my area for my rectangle. So I know I have one row of 18 in each row, which will give me an area of 18 square units. Or square centimeters, I guess, because that's what the problem is for. We're pretending that they're centimeters, but I think on the rest of them I'm just going to say square units. Now I'm figuring out my perimeter, so I'm going to add all my sides together. Whoops, that should say 38. Whoop. Alright, so that was the first rectangle that I made with an area of 18. Now I'm going to move all my squares to make another rectangle with an area of 18. You can see I'm moving my squares one by one, and we're going to pause there. Okay, and you can see that I finished moving all of my square tiles, my 18 square tiles. So now I made a rectangle with 9 rows and 2 in each row. So now I'm going to figure out my, circle around the perimeter to show that's my new rectangle. I'll figure out my area. So 2 times 9, or 9 times 2, equals 18 square units. Now I'll figure out my perimeter, so I'm going to add all of my side lengths together. Okay, now we're going to make another rectangle with an area of 18. Okay, and here's my next rectangle with an area of 18, so I'm going to label my sides. So I have 6 rows of 3. Circle around my perimeter, which is the outside of the shape. Now I'm going to figure out my area. And if you tap on the sap with 2 fingers, boys and girls, you can move the paper over to the side, or you can move the slide over so then you have more room to write. I can see that my area is 18 square units. Now I'll figure out my perimeter, so I'm going to add all of my side lengths together. And here you can see that my perimeter and my area both come up with 18, but sometimes your area and perimeter will be the same number, but usually it's not. But perimeter is just units, and the area is always the squared units. Now I'm going to make another rectangle. Alright, so now you can see that I'm almost done with my next rectangle. So now I have 18 rows with 1 in each row. I'm going to circle around the perimeter of my shape. I'll figure out my area. Now I'll figure out my perimeter. I'll add up all my side lengths together. My perimeter is 38 units. Okay, now I'm going to make another rectangle with an area of 18. Okay, so I'll finish up making this next rectangle. Okay, so now I have my new rectangle. Label my sides. I have 2 rows of 9. I'm circling the perimeter. Figure out my area. I know that 2 times 9 is equal to 18 square units. And hopefully you've noticed, boys and girls, that all of my rectangles all have an area of 18 square units because I used 18 squares. I'll figure out my perimeter, so I'm going to add all my side lengths together. You can see my perimeter is 22 units. Okay, now I'm going to make another rectangle with an area of 18. Okay, and I'm almost done with this next rectangle. I'm going to label my side lengths. So I have 3 rows with 6 in each row. Circle my perimeter. I'll figure out my area. once again, 18 square units, because that is what we are doing right now, is figuring out how many rectangles we can make with 18 squares. My perimeter, I'm going to add up all my side lengths, so 3 plus 6 plus 3 plus 6. Which is equal to 18 units. Okay, alright boys and girls, so now you can see when I zoom out on my iPad, I can see that I have, okay, and we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different rectangles that all have the area of 18 square units. And all of these rectangles, they all have the same area, but the perimeter is different on each rectangle. So now I have another question. It says, how many rectangles can you make with an area of 12 centimeters? So I want you to pause this video right now, go into your Numbers app, pull out your number pieces, pull out 12 units, 12 little squares, and see how many rectangles you can make with an area of 12 units. Alright boys and girls, so I went into the Number Pieces app like I just asked you to do, and I made my rectangles using this 12 centimeter tiles. So here's my 12 tiles, and you can see all the different rectangles that I made with an area of 12. You should have 6 rectangles that you made with an area of 12. Most of your perimeters are going to be different. I don't think any of them had a perimeter of 12 now that I'm looking back at them, but alright, so something else we can do here, let me go ahead and fix this real fast. Okay, so up here in this corner, you can see that I have all of my rectangles that I just made. Now we're going to take that to our grid paper. So I probably won't have room to draw all of our rectangles that we made, but we're going to draw as many as we can. Okay, so you can see here that I'm drawing all the same rectangles on my graph paper that I had over here on my Number Pieces app. So I'm going to do my last 2 rectangles. So I had 3 squares down, 4 squares across. And I should have one more of 4 squares down, 3 squares across. Okay, so if you look at my graph paper, remember each one of these squares is the same as one of these square tiles over here. So instead of moving all of your squares to help you figure out your rectangles with an area of 12, you're going to use that information you figured out on the Number Pieces app to help you draw your rectangles on your paper. So your assignment today is to see how many rectangles can you make with an area of 16 centimeters. I want you to find the perimeter of each rectangle. So you're going to go back into your Number Pieces app. I want you to pull out 16 of the squares, make your rectangles with 16, figure out the perimeter of each one of your rectangles. When you're done, take a screenshot and you'll upload that to Google Classroom. And then I also want you to do it on the graph paper as well on Google Classroom. So this paper will be assigned to you for your math lesson today. So after you make all of your rectangles on your Number Pieces app, then you'll come into Google Classroom and draw them on Classroom. And then just make sure you include your perimeter of each rectangle. If you're only using 16 squares, you don't need to do your area because this is so much easier on pencil and paper and not on an iPad. So I won't make you do the area on each one. I just want you to figure out the perimeter of each one of your rectangles with an area of 16. So remember, if it has an area of 16, you can only use 16 squares in each rectangle. Okay, make sure you comment below if you have any questions or have your parents send me a text message. Alright, boys and girls, good luck!